excited to talk to you tonight and for you to tell us about yourself. And I'm just super excited to be able to share other people's journeys because, that's what makes us who we are and our birth is special to us. And we never know who we might bless by sharing what our experience was because someone might be going through the same thing that you went through.
Right. Yes, I agree. 100%.
So I really just like to give people the floor and just tell us, about you and about your story and, see where that goes. So just go ahead and tell us what about you.
Okay. Well, my name is Ashley. I have two beautiful little girls. I have a 5-year old and I have a 2-year old. And both of my pregnancies really were unique. Especially my first. Her name is Emma. And I actually, so prior to me ever having Emma, we were married for 3 years. So me and my husband have been together for like probably going on closer to like 11 or 12 years
Oh,
altogether. But we've been,
congratulations.
yeah, yeah, we got together very young, and we got married when we were 18. So we've been together for 8 years now. I think this next year, I think in July will be 9. I hope I'm right on that.
I know math is really
But
hard sometimes. I understand.
yeah, as well, 2015. So yeah, this I think July is going to be 9 years. But um, so we waited 3 years before we ever, even thought about having children. And then when we did, as you know, it's not always just one and done.
Yeah.
And some people it is like that. Like, don't get me wrong, some people it is one and done, and that's it. That's great. You're pregnant. With my case, it wasn't really like that. It wasn't what, we thought. And so, um, I won't go into like too much detail, but, one night, I started to get a lot of pain. And so I went to the doctor. I scheduled an appointment and I actually got in fairly quickly. I probably got in within like a week or two, which is very hard because sometimes you don't get in for like a whole month.
Yeah.
So I definitely believe it was God ordained and the Lord knew exactly, what needed to happen because it was serious. So I went in and, they do, their usual exam. And she told me that she had felt a very big cyst. And so she immediately sent me the next morning to get an ultrasound done. And, we kind of waited on it because we didn't know any results that day. She gave me a call at like 8 o'clock that night and told me that next Wednesday I'd be having surgery. And so she found
Wow.
an 8 centimeter cyst on my right ovary, told me that, it would be very hard for me to get pregnant because I'm not going to have an ovary and I'm not going to have a right tube.
Mhm.
Um, and she has been like the one through all of my stuff. Her name's Dr. Nawada Kay, and she is like, I wish she could be my doctor for everything.
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
and I love her. I adore her and she knows it. And so anyways, so I went for surgery that next Wednesday. She is a praying doctor. So even, when we found out, she prayed with us. Even before surgery, she prayed with us. And so I really connected with her in that way because she was a praying doctor.
I
She
love that
always
so
asked the Lord,
much.
yes, she always asked the Lord to lead her and guide her in every surgery. And so I really adored that. Um, so I got, I had the surgery and here I am thinking for, I think it was like I had to wait I think it was like 4 to 6 weeks, you have to wait to
Mhm.
go back in. And so I went back in, which I mean, it may have been a little sooner than that. Maybe it was like 2 weeks or so. And so I went back in and I was thinking, I didn't have a right ovary. I was devastated.
Yeah.
And so I went to see her and she actually showed me, how they go in like through your belly button. And she showed me that thankfully my right ovary was not damaged. She was like, I have no idea how in the world because
Oh, praise
in the
the Lord.
ultrasound it showed it being completely damaged.
Yeah.
So it was not damaged. My right tube though did have to get removed, and the cyst ended up being 2 centimeters more than what they measured on the ultrasound. So it was actually a 10 centimeter cyst. Um,
Wow.
I had that surgery in October of 2017. So after I was able to, get cleared, we were, going to try after that because she said that cyst was blocking my entire uterus. So there was no way anything was able to even enter.
Okay.
And so it was probably around, I guess, November. We started trying again. And so um, by February, I think it was like February 4th, I found out I was pregnant. I was 3 weeks when I found out. And nonetheless, it was a miracle because
Yeah.
she said if, we did, it would take a while. Just because after surgery, your cycle has to get normal,
Mhm.
again, and all of that. So for it to be just that little time frame, it really was a miracle. It was such a blessing.
That is
Um,
so precious. That makes me so
yeah,
happy for you guys.
yes. It was very special just because of what I had already went through. It was definitely a joy. So yeah, and then pretty much the rest of the pregnancy was pretty hard.
Oh,
um, I I mean, I got told at the 20-week appointment that I had, I got a call and they said that her test had come back positive for Down syndrome, and got sent to the high risk doctor, and they kept an eye on her the rest of the pregnancy. Well, I'll tell you this. Um, this is just really how God works, and I believe that He orchestrates things so perfectly. After I found that out, obviously I was devastated. It was my first child, didn't know what
yeah.
to expect. Like, obviously I was going to love her either way, but knowing that, like, you already don't know what to do as a first time mom, it was really hard. And especially I didn't get to see a high risk doctor yet. You have to wait a few weeks to get in there. I was actually on my way home one night from my mom's, and I got pulled over. And I was like, are you kidding me? It was like one of those things where it was like one thing after another, and it just felt like it didn't stop. And so I got pulled over, and I immediately, not only am I just already emotionally unstable, I was very like all over the place.
Yeah.
And so it was a lady cop. She was super sweet, and she was like, your tag is expired, right? Like, my birthday, I guess, was like, if last week or whenever
Mhm.
it was, so it had expired, and I didn't even think anything of it. And so as I was crying, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I did not,
Yeah.
mean to forget my tag. But she actually, and it was on Cleveland Highway, I will never forget the spot. But she had me get out of the car, and she prayed over my belly, and she told me that God has her, and that everything is going to
Oh,
be okay, and that um, you know he has his hand on her. And she was just prophesying life over me, life over my baby. And it was beautiful, for a cop. I mean, it was like 10 o'clock at
yeah.
night. And that's when I had just the most peace that came rushing over me. And I knew right then that that was a godsend. And I knew that I wasn't supposed to worry about it anymore. And that day on, I didn't worry. I went to ultrasounds. She was perfect. She was measuring perfect. She was never ahead, never,
Praise the Lord. I love
behind.
that.
She was literally right on the dot.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, and she is a very preemie baby. She was born at 32 weeks and 1 day, so she only weighed 3 pounds and
Aw.
14 ounces. So she was a little bitty thing. I had severe preeclampsia, so um, we were pretty much in the hospital for a good 2 weeks before I even had her.
Mhm.
Um, but even through that, the Lord showed Himself, and she was supposed to be in there for 3 months. She was on, or 2 months. She was only in there 3 weeks.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
Yeah. So that is just the testimony of just God's goodness and mercy, and just his blessing throughout that whole journey, because that in
Mhm.
itself, I mean, you know, if you know what to expect, it's a little different. You know what I mean? But like, we are, I was a first time mom, had no idea what to expect. I was scared out of
Mhm.
my mind. And I would literally just turn on worship music while I was in that room, pretty much by myself. My husband kind of still had to go to work, so it was kind of like in and out,
Yeah.
there. But I mean, that whole way God just provided. And it was it was different. I didn't get to have a baby shower. You know, I wasn't expecting any of that, to happen. It just all happened really quickly.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was my adventure with my first.
I love how beautiful it's a testimony, and that you see God's hand in it. And I've talked to Cecilia on here, and it's just like, look how good God is, in spite of all the scare and all the circumstances that might lay at your feet. Look how good God is.
Yes. And it shows. And the word says the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. So as you're releasing these podcasts, what a lot of people don't realize is as their ears are listening to it, you you're prophesying to moms that are maybe still believing for a baby, or
Mm-hmm.
are have been in a situation and they didn't really feel like they seen God's hand in their pregnancy or through their labor, through their delivery. But it's like, as you tell testimonies, you look back at your own and you're like, oh my goodness, like God really is so good. And
Yes.
so I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful that people get to get on here and just honestly be released to prophesying to other people.
Yes, because there's going to be moms who they think that they'll never have the same journey, and they get on, they hear your voice. Maybe they prayed for something specific, and then they hear
Yes.
it, your voice, and they're like, the Lord's speaking to me right now, you know?
Yes. Yes.
I love
Yes.
that.
And he will do that. He will absolutely do that.
And I'm much of a crier, so I'm already crying again, but I am just so thankful that your first birthday, you were able to share that with us. And just that, like you said, just testify, because there's been so many times I start to record and then I feel like, what if this is just a hobby, or, what if this, and then I have a mom who comes on and says, thank you so much for allowing me a space to speak about my experience. And, we need that.
Oh, we have to have it. Like, we're supposed to share in our sufferings in a way. And
Yes.
a lot of times, whether people are going through infertility or they're going through, a rough pregnancy, even now, it is beautiful to be like, okay, I can share this and know that I'm going to get support,
Yes, and
and
know that there's
it
other
really is beautiful.
knowing that there's other women who are going to love you, and we're here for you regardless of the situation. We're going to love you through it, and we're going to be praying for you, even if you haven't been on here yet, or if you haven't had your baby yet, whatever. If you can hear us, we're going to be praying for you.
Yes, 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 I agree. And it is beautiful because life is such a beautiful thing. Like, the
Yes.
fruit of our womb you know, is a reward. And to be able to feel that type of life in you, and there's just so many things that I didn't get to experience with her that I
Hmm.
did with my second. And even in that, the Lord showed me just some of the smallest things that I just didn't get to feel, that I felt like I was pregnant for the first time all over again. Like, I never got to feel the hiccups with Emma. But like with
Hmm.
Sadie, I had her at 37 weeks, so I got to feel the hiccups. I got to record the hiccups. Like,
Oh,
um,
I love that.
and so it's just like the little things like that. I feel like we sometimes will leave out because we never, it's almost like you kind of take it for granted a little bit.
Yeah.
And so the second, round, it was just a little different for me. I didn't get
Mhm.
to have a normal labor and delivery with Emma. Thankfully, they let me have her naturally. I believe God's hand was all in that too, because typically, when you have fluid on your lungs and you got all the
Yeah.
things. They're like, C-section now. They didn't
Yeah.
really do that with me. And I am thankful that they were not rushing or anything like that. They were being super patient with me. And I mean, I was like on some really heavy medicine that was terrible.
Mhm.
And I really did feel like I was, you know, I was definitely not in heavenly places. It was rough, but like with Sadie, I got to enjoy that. I got to bounce on a ball. Like it's just little things like that that I just didn't really get to do with her that I did get to do with Sadie that I'm
Mhm.
like, wow, like God's goodness was all in that. And
Yeah.
just being able to see him through those little things. Because I mean, there may be a mom that aren't getting to experience any of that, but like it's the holding on to the hope that like one
Mhm.
day I will get to, see the
Mhm.
hiccups, feel the hiccups, and I will get to bounce on a ball in labor or, get to post an announcement on Facebook. Like
Yeah.
those releasing these stories are not just to just tell like what I went through, but it's also to
Right.
release to them hope, and encouragement that
Yeah.
it does happen and it will happen.
And it will happen for you. No one is disrespect or person, so it's going to happen for you if it can happen for someone else, and that's
Exactly. Yes.
amazing.
Yes, I agree.
And I love see on CC's when she talked about it. She said, the Lord showed her she was going to have her baby. The Lord showed her that she was going to have her baby, before way beforehand. And I love that. God is so good.
And he will let you know. He will make it clear, and sometimes it's not always clear, but when you are holding on to something, he will show you.
Hmm.
And it's honestly encouraging because in the midst of like a waiting season,
Hmm.
you have to hold on to that and he will show you things so you can hold on to that.
Yes.
And I'm a testimony of that too. God has shown me so many times, and um, he may put you in that waiting season, but nonetheless, um, he shows you and he has you something to hold on to,
I love
while
that.
you wait.
I absolutely love that. And I love that with your second birth, even though the first was hard and you had your trials, your second birth was kind of like a redemption. Like
Yes.
that's
Yeah, I was
beautiful.
able to enjoy it. I had no acne, I had no sickness. Now, towards the end, at like 34 weeks, I don't know what happened to me, but I went into like a sick kind of coma thing and I was throwing up nonstop. I was in and out of
Bless
the
your heart.
hospital the entire month of October. Finally had her November 1st. Now that was rough. But I can testify and say it is true that sometimes that baby doesn't give you acne, and that was probably the best. Um, However many months it was, like what I guess 8 months because I had her at 37 weeks. So, yeah, the best. I had literally no acne. Now after I had her, oh, I paid for it all.
Oh no.
So yeah, but while I was pregnant, I was glowing for sure.
You're thinking whatever I did then, I needed to come back on that my
I
face and
needed to come back. Yes, no,
right.
but yeah, and honestly, what you're doing is really awesome. And I want you to know that.
That means so much to me. I really
And I
appreciate
know that, like, you are putting it out there and you are promoting it, but I just feel like, you know, people are seeing it and it may
it.
not be like what, you know, you feel like it should be, maybe, but I know that people are seeing it. And I think sometimes it takes a little bit of processing. Like you kind of have to process
Yeah.
kind of what you're about to not really so much speak on because I'm not sitting here like, oh, I should say this and this. Because honestly, that part just flows. But like going back to that time is and can be really hard.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of traumatic. Um
Yeah.
and it was a lot. So I think what you're doing is really beautiful. And I know that God has called you to do something so beautiful. And especially geared towards women. And you're supporting them in literally the most, I mean, vulnerable state that you could support
Yes.
women. And you have to have a certain gift for that. And you absolutely have that. And I feel like you
Oh my
already make
gosh,
people
that
feel
means
so
so much to me.
comfortable. So I'm super excited to see what else God has for you, because I know you're the one that, is hosting me and all these other women that are putting their stories out there. But I just want you to know that what you're doing is so special. And, I know we don't really know each other on like a personal level, but I'm super proud of you. And I know that God is going to use you in so many ways, because you're dealing with such vulnerable women in that state, but also the gifts that they're carrying or about to carry.
Mhm.
And that's exciting. So,
Thank you so much for saying that. Um, I know we don't know each other well, but when I went to the worship in the park, and my oldest, when she was baptized there, and she's like, I want Jesus in my life permanently. I was like, all right, Ashley, what you're doing is what we need. That was amazing for me, and I've just appreciated you ever since.
oh, you're so sweet. I thought that I was actually, like literally, no, I was just watching that video probably like 30 minutes ago
Oh.
of the video I had made in the park and the people getting baptized. And
Mhm.
it's so beautiful because, that is something that will stick forever. Like that'll
Yeah.
be a core memory forever. And to know that, it was in the middle of a park and a little tin baptism pool. Like,
It was the most beautiful thing, and I felt the Holy Spirit the whole time I was there. And
yes.
I knew he was there. He's there with us, and he was there the whole way home. All I could say was how excited I was that she's starting this journey, and I'm so happy that y'all did that.
Well, I'm glad that you got to be there. And thank you for your encouraging words, also. And I'm just really excited for what the Lord has in store for, I feel like there's a lot of people in this city that has ministries and different ministries. And
Yeah.
it really shows like people being the hands and feet of Jesus.
Yes.
And you don't realize how powerful that is until
Mhm.
you see the lives that it's changing. So, like, even you just saying that encourages me to keep going. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Because it is hard. And sometimes you get in places where you're like, what am I even doing? Like, I feel like
Yeah.
I'm serving no purpose. Like,
Yeah.
and then just to hear that, it really is so encouraging. So, seriously, thank you.
Oh, of course. And you know, I know we all have our days where we're like, is this what we're supposed to be doing? And the podcast, I just told myself, that's just a silly hobby. And then my friend said, why do you think you keep getting attacked every time you start back up? She's like, you're doing something for the kingdom, so we have to push. And so I thought, you know what? That's true. So praise the Lord. I think I've scheduled maybe 20 in the next week and last week, because people want to share their testimony or share their birth, share how good. I know a lot of them are Christian based, and they want to share how good God is. And I know that that's hard because the devil comes after families. And if we can build up moms to be strong, to be empowered, then, you know, the enemy has doesn't stand a chance.
Oh, no. And I think one thing, if nobody gets anything out of this, to get this, that we really do have a voice. And I think we've
Yes.
been told for so long to sit down and shut up.
Hmm.
But I really do believe that this is going to be the year that mamas really rise up,
Yes.
and women rise up. And it's almost like a mama bear, but it's not in the way of like you're angry or like you're, because, when people say, I'm going to get the mama bear come out of me, like you better sit down. But there's
Yeah.
something about a mama with a voice, um, that literally roars at the accuser. And
Hmm.
so I definitely feel like what you're doing is allowing, and I feel this so strong, is allowing women to have a voice.
Yes.
So whether you know it or not, you're actually you have a ministry that's allowing women to carry their voice.
Yes.
And it's almost like giving their voices back, because maybe they've went through motherhood and maybe they don't realize that you can actually have a voice. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to sit down and you don't have to shut up.
Yeah.
We do have a voice, and we have the authority, most of all, because of Jesus. Jesus gave us that authority, and because he has the keys, so do we.
And that's beautiful. You know, when we're going to do all this with babies on our hips, you know, we're going to get
We're
out
going to
here.
do it. We're going to do the thing. Yes, girl.
I love that. Thank you so much for jumping on with me tonight and
No, thank
sharing
you.
everything with us.